shout a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so sort of back to that point about what's the next thing you want to learn. So when you figure that out, that's going to help you. Going to help you focus. So one of the things to think about is this. Well, we were talking about the lean startup loop. It's build, measure, learn. But actually, the way I think about it is when you start with figuring out what you want to learn next from these questions that have emerged from your last set of contact with customers. Is, well, how are you going to measure that? So what techniques are you going to use? And also this might be influenced by what techniques you decided you wanted to learn here today as well. So, but sort of picking how to measure that, and then when you get into building that, then when you come back to putting that in front of customers, you'll actually come back to what it is you wanted to learn in the first place, and then this loop kind of continues. So it's one way to think about things.
Yeah. So obviously, over the course of the afternoon, you're not going to be able to design the whole solution, but we'd like to encourage you to think about them, to have an idea about the scale of the solution. So, for example, are you talking about a mobile website, a mobile app, or is it a mobile website and a desktop website that you think need to work together? So, with that in mind, what the scope of the overall solution should be, informed by the context of use, of course. We'd like to encourage you to focus on actually designing or prototyping a specific scenario, so a very specific use case, so that the prototype that you create, whatever format it might take, is really focused on a very specific use case. That's also a good way to get feedback on, because you're really trying to define a solution to a specific part of the problem rather than the whole problem, the whole solution.
Yeah, and I guess for those of you who might be going into sketching, the main thing to think about is, first of all, keep it simple. Don't try and solve all the problems in one page or with one application. Focus on the key features, the priority of the elements on the page. How, with that key kind of use case scenario, how can you most efficiently move them through whatever process you're trying to focus them in on. And just in a discussion we're here, the one big problem that's going to permeate through all of this is going to be size and fit. And in retail, it's the biggest problem. And if you can solve that, please come see me for a job. So I guess my outcome on that is don't get caught up in that, because it's a big problem. We could all spend one day trying to solve that. So.
And one last point about what people want to get out of the rest of the day. Yes, we have a design challenge, and people are keen to find a solution to that problem. But please keep in mind that you're also here to learn and share. So maybe it's worth stepping back for a minute and thinking about what different members of the team would like to get out of the afternoon, what specific activities they might want to practice. So there's a kind of learning element there as well.
And I'll just maybe add that something that might help with that is actually the thing that Kim had said about, if you think about sort of different ideas on different platforms, come back to the context, the customer's context. The example you said was about talking about people using mobile and then moving to bigger screens. Yeah,
because I also think as well, a lot of times everything's about apps right now, and everybody's just keen to make everything an app. And so you need to think about, does it need to be an app? When are they going to be using it? Will they be online? Will they have access to internet? In that case, it can just be something that's mobile, which is actually much better, because they can actually move more seamlessly between devices. But again, if they're going to be offline, then it'll be an app. But also, we do lots of interviews with our customers, and it often comes up where they'll say something like, oh, well, I was looking at it online on the train, but because they really want to see that fabric or that detail, they'll kind of bookmark it or put it in their wish list and then go home and look at it on a bigger screen. So just kind of think about what needs they're going to have at what point they're using it and how that will affect their journey.
And this will give you opportunities to try different things, because if you go back to sort of that point in time, that customer problem, you might have one artifact to test that, but then at a different point in time within the same scenario, there might be a different artifact to test it, like sort of a different part of that journey. So it might allow you to have a bit of freedom in doing different things if that's what it comes down to.
Any questions before you guys go back to work?
think if you guys can share some simple process for people to follow in terms of doing the brainstorming or whatever, that would be quite useful. For example, like some teams use the topic map, and I think probably a lot of people don't really know that kind of useful procedures and then to use in the sessions. And if you guys have something in mind,
I
then it
think
would be great.
we would do it more when the mentors talk to individual teams
Oh,
rather than have
cool.
a big.
Yeah, because it depends on what that team is just going to do. If that team wants to just focus on research, then that's just one particular element of a longer process. Versus if somebody's wants to get more sketching experience, then they're going to move further along. So,
Yeah. It's really a lot about what you want to get out of the day. It's not so much about speeding all the way through. I mean, it depends. Some of you might be very keen to really present a final solution. Others are more interested in practicing research or sketching, in which case your reflections, in which case you should spend time doing that, and afterwards reflect on it and share with the rest of the group what your experiences were. That's just as interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah, but feel free to grab us if you have questions. Just pull us. We'll help.
Okay, cool. Thanks for your work.